Good afternoon, everyone. So my name's Paul Wicks. I'm a neuropsychologist, I'm a caregiver, and I'm a nerd. And I'm going to share with you a couple of mistakes I've made about digital health and drug repurposing over the past few years so that you can hopefully make a different set of mistakes. So in order to understand this, you have to know about the disease that I've been studying for nearly 20 years, and ironically, about 4.5 years ago, a close family member of mine became a patient with ALS, so I'm now a caregiver as well, and that's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. Which I think is building towards my hypothesis that the harder the disease is to pronounce, the shittier it is overall, and this conference has really reinforced that. You might also know it as motor neuron disease, so Stephen Hawking had it, and it was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge from a few years ago. So I used to work at a company called Patients Like Me, which was an online community that had thousands of patients with ALS self-reporting on their disease and building sort of a natural history, sort of online registry type thing in a very open way. And that meant that when a study came out in 2008 by an Italian group in a peer-reviewed journal saying that the drug lithium carbonate would completely halt the disease, you can imagine how many patients would have gone and demanded that treatment off-label from their doctor, given that it was a proven therapy, as I believe we're now calling them. So from that original study, just 16 patients were treated with lithium carbonate against about 28 controls who were treated with standard of care. Within 3 or 4 months, 10 times that number, so 160 patients were self-reporting their experience with off-label lithium carbonate from all over the world in a trial initiated by a patient in Brazil who could only communicate through eye blinks and assistive communication, and a caregiver in America who had a PhD, but in geology. And the two of them jerry-rigged together this trial out of Google Sheets and duct tape and an activated community, and were running t-tests every day as people put in their self-report data and side effects and symptoms and weight. So we built a more comprehensive data management system to try and build that in, and we were very lucky in that because we had the data of those 10,000 other patients like them, we were able to build a sort of virtual historical control arm. So each self-treating patient had between 3 and 5 patients who matched their previous progression curves, and we were able to find very quickly in the space of about 6 months that unfortunately, lithium doesn't work, just like most of the trials in ALS don't work. There have been about 60, many of which have been in proven therapies with things like tamoxifen and minocycline. Sadly, about half of them kill patients faster than placebo. In a disease with a median survival of 18 months, that's pretty bleak. So what did I expect to happen? I expected that this platform would show up many more proven therapies that we could come and bring through this pathway. But as it happens, we were unlucky. I think that was a one-off lightning in a bottle type event of the community really getting activated around one thing. However, a couple of years later, a surprise came along. A new cohort of patients came through that used that exact same platform to try and figure out when they were blinded in a phase 3 randomized control trial by a big multinational sponsor, whether or not they're in the treatment arm or the control arm. And that really got people's attention because we had about 15% of everyone in the trial saying, "Did your doctor just tell you you have neutropenia?" "Yeah, well, sugar pills don't give you neutropenia, so I guess we're in the treatment arm," and started flagging up their own profiles as treatment, non-treatment, ran the t-test. So what happened there? Well, what it's meant is that now there are advocacy organizations, one called Ima LS, that's been able to take that experience and draw upon those insights to bring sponsors and the FDA together to say, if you don't make trials more patient-centric, if you don't justify the often ridiculous inclusion-exclusion criteria, if you don't ensure that the protocol is patient-centric, if you don't ensure that the outcomes are relevant to patients and yet still scientifically valid, we're going to cancel your trial. We're going to ensure that nobody enrolls in it. We're going to ensure that it gets unblinded. We're going to ensure that your precious scientific experiment is going to come apart. And that was an unanticipated consequence that as a scientist, I find terrifying. But as an advocate, it's really got attention. It's really shown how data can turn into power by disrupting the status quo. A couple of other things happened. A group of doctors came together called ALS Untangled, a consortium of 100 doctors that looks at suggestions of proven therapies or complementary, alternative or off-label therapies suggested by patients on an online voting website. And they get together, they review the preclinical literature, the clinical cases, anything that's published, any real-world evidence that's on social media, and they produce an open access report that's published once a quarter, open access in the main peer-reviewed journal for the field. Those papers are accessed between 5,000 and 10,000 times each, which means they're really clearly being read, and it's clear that patients are being taken seriously there. So the main lessons that I've taken from this in terms of how digital health can really impact things. Well, the first thing is everyone overestimates what they can do in a year or two, but underestimates what this can do to the field over the course of a decade. But really, although it's technology that makes things possible, it's the people that makes things happen. Thank you.